Greetings, vloggers, bloggers, followers, and potters. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty with the second half of this week's vlogs. Today we're going to go into our Forging Friendship series. Today we're going to talk about communication in relationships and friendships and some hows and whys things are important. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started with our reading of our intro. Welcome to Forging Friendships, Relationships vlog series. While I'm certainly no expert, being in my mid-30s, I do have some insight to share about relationships within my community. The intention is to share insight and knowledge on topics of relationships, whether for dating or as a friend, that are common issues that autistics face today. So with that, I want to talk about, communication. So this week we've talked about a good many things, but today we're going to specifically talk about communication and why some factors are important when communicating with a partner or a relations or a friend, and why things matter to that communication element, because we deal a lot with construct, autistics do. We deal a lot with why and the how, and the sometimes we take things literally, and that can be a hard thing. Real briefly, I remember still, as a couple years ago, I went to this restaurant in my town um, where a student who is in one of my classes in high school, his family is the owner of it, and he was the server, and he served me the food, and he made a joke, and I took it too literally, and he says, "You still can't take a joke 15 years later," and I said, "Yeah, that's right, I can't." So people recognize things, so it's very important to recognize those. But the first thing we're going to talk about is timing. Be thoughtful about when you bring things up in a relationship, when you bring conversations to the table, when you talk about things, because there's times when we as autistics don't want to. We're not in our right element. We're not in our right mind to have a conversation. Sometimes we've had a really hard day, and sometimes we just need time for ourselves as human beings to regroup, and from whatever issue that we may be experiencing on our own self, and to only bring into forth of what you as the partner or as the friend may be experiencing, whether you're neurodivergent or neurotypical. That can trigger us and set us up for a very heated match, a very fiery match, and it can be very difficult to make that uh, communication when it needs to be key, um, effective, and it can make it be well. So just be very thoughtful about when you have these conversations. Maybe schedule a time to talk about it. And I know that seems weird, but sometimes talking about things or if it's very helpful. Also, if it's a bit like a business thing or like a close friend, like a friendship thing, sometimes messaging or email is very important. Is another great tool that you can use to get your thoughts across, because you can think them and not have to be spot on. Sometimes autistics have social anxiety, and that can be very difficult, to where we feel uneasy about things. So, and also, give time when we're discussing, when we're communicating our needs, because it's important to give us time, and give us time to respond, because we necessarily have issues to process it. And we may need more time to process those things, because our brains are not totally wired the same way as a neurotypical person. So therefore, it takes us, we experience difficulty in processing uh, information, and it's good to be slow and concrete. Please be concrete, be slow, concrete, and be literal, because we do not understand things that are used in slang, jargon, or any other method that we just don't get. So be honest with us. That's all we ask, is to be honest, be concrete, be literal. We have to understand. We as autistics sometimes struggle with the balance of understanding, what's real and what's not real. So that's very important. And it's very important to like give us time to process these thoughts, because sometimes they may hurt us, or they may make us upset, or they may, or it may even enrage us. So it's very important to take things slow, be gentle, and not be too upsetting. It's very important for that. um and it's hard for us to read our mind, to be mindful and read our mind. Be it we have to read, we're hard at reading minds of others sometimes. We're hard at telling body language, so that sometimes is a difficulty. Granted, I've been better personally, but that doesn't mean everybody is, and it's difficult to to read body language sometimes, and to understand subtle feelings. And when when you can't read what people are really thinking, it's the worst feeling in the world, because you feel like, do I belong here? Do I not belong here? Um, what do I say? What do I do? And all these things, are running through our head. And again, that's why it's important to give us time to process, so be slow and kind and gentle, and process each question or each point. Give us time to process that, because it's very important. uh, you know, when we're mind reading, it kind of upsets us when we try to get a read, and we try to get a clear, answer, and sometimes it's hard. We can misread things, and that's very difficult. And when we misread things, we can't blow it out of left field, and we shouldn't do that. We should try to keep it within that what we should think. We misread the cues, and we don't understand things sometimes. It's very important to make sure you're very clear, concrete, and concise when you're communicating your need. We take a lot of things that we've experienced in the past, like bullying, for example. Many of us in the autism community have been bullied in our school, mainly in our somewhat in our educational life, our social life, our family life. Even we've had some barriers where we've come across issues of being bullied, not so much being bullied, but being not properly cared for, because frankly our family wasn't aware, maybe that we didn't have a diagnosis, or or that what it was really, what they thought was really helping was instead doing the complete opposite. So we have sometimes we have trauma, and we have PTSD from that. I in fact have PTSD, so some things I may not feel comfortable doing, that others may feel comfortable doing. So it's about communicating and getting those connections, and understanding those communicating connectors, to the realm of things. And understanding that it's important to communicate. And such, leading into a way with consent, when we get into of a physical nature or of a sexual nature, that sometimes we need to be very communicative, and we need to be very clear about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. um, that's another piece of communication that sometimes is kind of uncommunicated, but it needs to be communicated, because we need to know that what we're doing, or what people are doing to us, is okay. And again, it's just relaying back to someone may have trauma or triggers of things that you may see okay, that others may not, and vice versa. So it's very important to be aware of those things. It's very important to communicate throughout every process of what you're doing, including those of that sort of nature. At any time, it's whether it has to be a directional format, or something, that's just what that has to be. And it can be difficult, and sometimes that's why relationships for many neurodivergent individuals is difficult many times, because we have issues with communication. And it's hard, and it's sometimes people don't want to accept our norms for what they are, or be willing to work with us. And they're just missing out, frankly. Where many neurodivergent individuals are um, very talented and very skilled and very loving, and can be very loving, for that matter, and can be very empathetic, contrary to what common world thinks. We can be very caring and understanding. So, without that further ado, I want to thank you for listening today. I did not mention in this week's series I am wearing the hashtag Autism in Action shirt today. So, just a little plug in for that. I'll include that information on the description. The background this week is of a building and in Ohiopyle State Park, beautiful land in Pennsylvania near my house. So, I'll include that information as well in the video description. And I thank you for listening today. As always, be sure to follow, and dislike this video. Be sure to tap that notification bell if you want to hear more videos when they pop up. I usually do them on the weekends. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you like. And also be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dustin's Dynasty. I'm on the web at dustinsdynastyusa.com. I have a link tree. My handle is Dustin's Dynasty on that. Um, on I'm on Pinterest and TikTok at Dustin's Dynasty ASD, and I stream this vlog and many of my blog posts to the to a podcast series, and it is on many platforms, including Spotify. So, with that being said, I want to thank you again for listening. Have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you again.